Hi Homeworthy, I'm Georgia Howe. Welcome to my home in LA. Come on in.
Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Scan the QR code to subscribe to our new channel, Weddingworthy, where we celebrate amazing couples and the love stories behind their perfect day.
Hi, I'm Georgia Howe. I'm an interior designer and we are at my home in Los Angeles. We wound up in this home mainly because we fell in love with this neighborhood. It's a neighborhood in Los Angeles called Hancock Park, and it's a historic preservation zone, and that's really what drew us here. We're both from the East Coast and it reminded us a little bit of places we grew up. We've been here about 10 years and nobody wanted the house, and we walked through it and saw a lot of potential and fell in love with it. When we bought the house, all the original details were still here, and that's one of the things that really drew us to it. The kitchen needed to be redone. There was some deferred maintenance that we needed to take care of and some bathrooms, but otherwise things were pretty cosmetic. So we renovated the kitchen and the primary bath, and a few years later we did the kids' bathroom and a third bathroom. But everything else, the floors are original, the molding, all the windows, and other than paint and stain the floors, we kept it as is. Here we are in the entry. It's not a huge space, and as you can see, you see up the stairs. So I wanted to be able to have that moment where it feels, you're sort of welcomed into the house, but it was a little tricky with the stairs. So I had this vintage console from my first apartment in LA, and we placed it here. And then I found this mirror out actually in Sag Harbor probably 10 years ago. And that's sort of all I did. I often have a big thing of flowers. Usually I like to have some height. And then really it's about some of the art things we've collected over the years. There's actually, the flowers are hiding it, but my partner Leah LeBrere, who I have a wallpaper line with, I have one of her paintings there. And then I have a drawing that was in my room growing up, just a vintage pencil drawing. And then down here, I have a Marion McAvoy pressed flower that she does that I bought from KRB in New York, which is one of my favorite shops. This bench is a vintage bench I bought from Nikki Kehoe when we moved into the space, or when we moved into the house. And then this runner I put down, I probably bought it a year or two after we moved in from a shop out here. And it's taken me about 10 years of living here. I finally just ordered a stair runner, but that's not in yet because, as we know, things have a long lead time. I almost always have a candle burning in here and in the kitchen. I usually diptyque. This one is a new scent. I actually don't know how you pronounce it, but usually I have cypress, but I changed it up and I really like it. The chandelier is light we bought when we first moved in from a store here in LA. All of detail that you see, the stairs, the molding, the arches, all of that is original to the house. We didn't touch this space other than to paint it. And that's true for most of the house. I'll point out things that have changed, but mostly it's pretty, it's intact from 1921 when it was built. And as you can see, we have a lot of art. These are some photographs that actually belong to my husband, bought before we were married, and I love them. We have a Henry Cartier-Bresson, a Nan Golden, and an Elliott Erwitt. And I like that they're just kind of, it doesn't feel too precious there on the stairs. It's sort of a weird space that needed art. And that's what we put there, and we haven't changed it. This is a small piece my husband and I bought together a few years ago by a Japanese artist that we'd seen at Frieze, and we just loved it. So now let's take you into the living room. Here we are in the living room. As you can see, there's lots of sort of small vignettes. This is a Biedermeier dresser that was actually in my dad's house. And when we moved out here, he was moving, and so he gave it to us. These are a pair of lamps. I've had them forever. I bought them for our first apartment when my husband and I lived in New York at a vintage store in Soho. And this is Warhol shoe drawing, pencil drawing that from his early when he worked in advertising. And a couple of family pictures. And as I said, I just sort of can't not buy accessories and things that speak to me. Over on this side, I actually just redid the art here. I had a series of small pieces, and I bought this at the Mika Erdogan Christie's auction a couple of months ago. I worked for Mika in New York, and she passed away about a year ago and had a wonderful auction at Christie's with all of her art and accessories and furniture, and it was really kind of fun and special to see her collection. This table was actually my desk in our first apartment when we moved to LA. I bought these lucite bases at a store in Florida and had the top made out of a stone that I thought was pretty. Some books. This was a crazy candelabra. I think my mom gave it to me for Christmas one year. This is an old Knoll chair that I've just had forever. I honestly can't even remember where it came from. I think it was a desk chair in our apartment in New York. This little chair I bought at an estate sale out here. I liked the shape of it. I always had a plan to recover the seat and just haven't gotten around to it. Then these sofas were actually just a Restoration Hardware sofa in a white linen that I bought when we moved in here because we needed a place to sit, and it was a much bigger house than where we were coming from. And then I recovered them in this really pretty kind of soft yellow, butter yellow Loro Piana velvet. The coffee table I bought for our first apartment in LA. It was designed by Charles Hollis Jones. It's a lucite coffee table, and it's just sort of worked at the few places we lived before here, and now it works in this house. Those are little stools. They're actually Japanese rice boxes, and you can take the lid off, and we end up just sort of dumping stuff in them. I think there's some board games and stuff that belong to my kids. My mom and I bought them in New York at a sale. There was something many, many years ago called 7th on Sale, and it was to raise money, I think, for AIDS research. And they sold clothes and furniture, and she bought them there probably 30 years ago, and somehow I wound up with them. The chairs are vintage Danish set of chairs that I bought on First Dibs. They were sort of the first splurge for this house, and I still love them. The piece of art above the mantle is by an artist named Ethan Cook. My husband and I bought that a few years ago, and we love it. The photograph over the piano is by a friend of ours, was taken by a friend of ours. Her name's Mallory Martyr, and she's a really talented photographer, and we've had this forever. When my husband and I met about 18 years ago, we both had a few pieces of art. Not a ton, but a few things, and we both love art. My husband particularly likes photography, and it's not something you can build overnight, and honestly, not everything in here is super valuable. Some of it is, sure, and some of it is just stuff that we've liked that's charming that was a few $100s. And it wasn't until recently that we bought a few more significant pieces. We like buy things sometimes as our anniversary present to each other. We'll pick something together and kind of give it to ourselves. But it doesn't happen overnight. And so you have to be patient and try to learn, go to art fairs and discover sort of young up and coming artists and, support them. This is a table I bought in India about, 16, 17 years ago when I had a shop in New York and I was on a buying trip in India. And I just thought it was so beautiful with this sort of bone inlay, and I had two of them, but one got really damaged, so now I only have one. We use this space actually more than I think a lot of people use their living rooms because it's so central to the house. We entertain a lot, but even if we're not entertaining, my husband and I might come in and sit here. If the kids are watching a movie in the family room, we might sit in here and have in the evening have the doors open. It opens up to the outside, so it's really a nice room in the winter. You have a fire going. In the summer, you can have the doors open to the outside. So we end up using it actually quite a bit. Now I'm going to take you into the dining room. This room is one of my favorites, largely due to the paneling that was original to the house, and we actually recently redid it. It was, when we moved in, we painted it a sort of a brighter green and had a darker table, and I was just getting tired of it. So about a year ago, I repainted it this soft sage color and had this sort of taupey color on the ceiling. And I stained the dining table, but I didn't really love the way it turned out. So I had this tablecloth made out of one of my favorite Muriel Brandolini fabrics. And these chairs are a vintage set, probably from the 60s, that I bought on Cherish and recovered in a Claremont kind of like mustard boucle. The chandelier I bought at Luca. It's a shop out here, and I think they have a location in New York as well. I bought it, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, and it's just perfect for the space. I love that the room has no recessed lighting. So it does get a little dark in here, but it's a perfect moody dining room for a dinner party. This dresser was the dresser in my bedroom growing up. I haven't stained it or done anything to it. Is it the perfect match? Maybe not, but I think it works and we like it. And it's full of my linen collection that I sort of hoard. The lights are from a shop out here called Gallery 7, and they cast a really pretty light in the evening. These were just these quirky like canvas palms that I bought at a shop in Florida, and they've just sort of lived in here. This is a painting by an artist named Michael Ray Charles that I've had for a while. I think works nicely in here. The bar cart actually belonged to my husband when we met, and we still love it. It's a little empty now because we recently built a bar, which I will take you into in a moment, but it lives here. We use it if we're entertaining and use it as a buffet. And this is a picture of Ernest Hemingway making a martini, so it felt appropriate. Over here are the curtains I redid when we redid this room. They're a sewn fabric that I'd seen in a different color in the sewn showroom in New York, and I fell in love with it. And the room was sort of built, the colors were kind of built off these curtains. These are a series of photos by a photographer named Dwayne Michaels. They're a little risque, and it actually was only recently that I think our kids fully noticed what was happening, but they're a really special series that we've had for a long time. There's no real reason that they're in here. It felt, when we were placing the art that we did have, we thought they worked nicely in here. A lot of it is, it's not a science, and so I just sort of go with what I think looks good in the moment, which is sort of freeing, because sometimes with clients and projects, you have to be a little more intentional and be able to explain why you're doing something. Because I do that all day for clients, I don't really want to do it for myself, so I just place things where I think they look nice. As you'll see throughout my house, most of the carpets are natural fibers. I love them because I think they go with everything. I think they're super chic. You're not committing to a crazy color or a pattern, and almost anything looks good with them. They're also a really nice price point, and so you're not gonna pull your hair out if your dog destroys it like mine does, if you have to replace it in 7 or 8 years. One of the things we loved about the house was the way the living room flows into the dining room and then into the family room. We always say it's a great party house. We do a big holiday party every year, and all 3 of these rooms are full of friends and family and some kids, and it's really fun. My personal style, I always joke, it's every designer's sort of least favorite question. I came to the house with a lot of things. I love antiques and furniture and textiles and art and accessories, and so I had quite a bit when we moved in. Not all of it worked in the space, and so over the last 10 years we've really added to it. But it's really a reflection of mine and my husband's lives. We have, dressers and different side tables that were in our childhood homes growing up, and then there are things that we've bought and collected over the years together. I really just buy what I like and don't think too much about how it works with everything else. A lot of the pieces in here have a story and are things that have been picked up in travels and along the way. I try to be intentional about tying the rooms together. Of course, certain things I might fall in love with something that I've seen, while shopping for clients, and it just simply doesn't work in my house. So as much as I love it, sometimes you have to, pass things up. But I do really believe that if you buy what you love, it generally works. I spend a lot of time shopping for other people, for clients, sourcing. So for my own house, I'm maybe a little more free-spirited about it, and I get excited about something, and that doesn't mean I don't have regrets. There's certain things I've bought that are, probably didn't work and were a mistake and I've sold or gotten rid of. It's really, my house is a little bit of a hodgepodge, periods and styles, but that's what we like about it. I shop everywhere, a lot online, auction shops in LA. I just got back from Paris, so the flea market's there. I love, how my house is pretty much finished and there's not a whole lot more space for furniture. So now I buy lots of accessories. We entertain a lot, so I buy lots of glassware and linens and things like that. Sort of scratches the itch and allows me to change things up a little bit. This is our family room where we, of course, spend a lot of time because it's the only TV on the first floor. So we watch a lot of movies in here. When we moved in, there were some sort of funky, weird bookcases. We redid those, painted the room this dark color. And then I fell in love with this fabric from De La Cogna, and we did the sofa out of that, and a linen kind of cozy TV watching chair and sort of a wine color. And as you can see, the room looks out to the swimming pool, although we never really open these doors. It's really more of a cozy evening room, but one of these days we'll think about replacing the doors and having it more indoor-outdoor, but not today. As you can see, we have a lot of books. Both my husband and I love to read, and we buy a lot of art books and design books and vintage. I have a large collection of vintage furniture and design books that I really like to reference for work, for projects when we're researching things. So it was important to have a lot of bookcases. So we put these in, and in the bookcases are sort of peppered with just photographs. This was a little drawing someone did for me of our first apartment in LA. You can actually see some of the artwork that you've seen throughout the house tour, and the coffee table is just, I thought was so charming. Little things my kids have made. I think that's one of my kids' handprints from when they were little. Some family photographs, photo albums, and as you can see, we're running out of space. We've got to find another place for bookcases because we're not Kindle people. We like actual books. So I don't know what we're gonna do when we run out of space, but we'll have to figure it out. The light fixture I bought in New York for our apartment there when my husband and I moved in together. We actually had two of them, and I don't know, we've lost the other one. There were two J boxes in the living room we had, and then this one has somehow survived several moves, and one of which was a cross-country move, and it lives in here. The desk is sort of a funky shape. It was actually built in when we moved into the house and just didn't have the energy to change it, but it's sort of a desk that sometimes my kids will use, sometimes my husband, if he works from home, will use it. And again, we added a couple more bookshelves. We have some old photographs of actually my parents when I was a baby, which I love. And yeah, we spent a lot of time in here because it's our family room, TV room, library, all of those things. Now I'll take you into the bar. So here we are in the bar. This is the most recent renovation to our house, and we think it's really a lot of fun. It was this empty room with these pretty windows and glass doors when we moved in, and it sort of became a catch-all and almost like a storage room, and we've been talking about making it into a bar, and we finally did about a year ago, and we love it, and it's a lot of fun for entertaining. The footprint stayed the same, but we put in all the shelving and a wine fridge and the sink, and it opens to the outside, so it's really fun. In the summer, people come in here, we'll set up a bar for people to make drinks, and as I think I mentioned earlier, I'm a bit of a tabletop hoarder, so it became very precious extra storage for all my linens and glassware, and some of which you can see are out here displayed, and then there's more in here. I love these. I bought these when I was in Connecticut installing a project a few years ago. They have this sort of pretty woven, almost coaster built in. These I bought actually a big set of large and small when we finished this bar. I thought they kind of color looked really nice, and they're great for cocktails or water. And then these, I love beautiful sort of colored glassware. These were actually a present that someone gave me about a year ago, and I think they're so pretty. They look great on a table. And it's been sort of, everybody, a lot of friends know how much I love tabletop and entertaining. So once we finished the bar, people very generously, if they came for dinner or a birthday, gave me some glasses or some linens. And so I keep kind of expanding my collection. I just got back from Venice and I bought some really pretty cocktail napkins. These are fun. I love these. These I've had forever. They have this little woven leaf on them. And it's, another excuse and justifies buying tabletop. These are little matches that were left over from our wedding that I have in a dish over there, candles. These are pretty. Someone gave me these little toothpicks with pearls on them that feel important. The counter, I wanted something really durable. A lot of people, I think the instinct is to make a bar kind of glam, which my house is not necessarily glam, so it felt like it needed to really work with the rest of the house. So you can see I have these kind of cobblestone floors. The bar counter is just it's a soapstone. I wanted something durable that was gonna kind of just blend in with everything. And then we did a little brass bar sink with a brass faucet from Waterworks. It has a little wood detail that I thought was pretty. I've loved these woven blinds forever, so we did the woven blinds throughout. These counter stools are actually just an inexpensive catalog counter stool, and I covered them in a Luminoc fabric that I think is really beautiful and I've loved for a long time and hadn't had a spot for it. This light fixture is from a shop in London, Beata Human, who has a really pretty line of lighting and furniture, and I always thought it was quite charming. This was this little drawing I've had forever. I think it was somewhere in my childhood home. It's nothing valuable or special, but I just thought it was really charming and it fit perfectly between these doors. The floor is like a cobblestone from a shop out here called Exquisite Surfaces. The paint colors throughout the house are all different, but they're all there's sort of a warmth to them all, even though they're kind of in the gray family. Nothing's super bright or bold. I generally use Farrow and Ball colors. I just think they have such a beautiful range of kind of moody colors. This color is called Mouse's Back, I think, and I just loved it. It was sort of a brown, green, kind of honestly, sort of an ugly color, but I think it's really beautiful. I love to entertain. We entertain a lot, whether it's, a dinner party or a few families over. Yes, always have lots of food, lots of cocktails, and I think it's fun to set up and have the house looking really pretty, whether it's setting your table with, the plates that you love that you don't always use or the linens. People seem to really appreciate it, and I think it's really fun. I'm an interior designer, and it's sort of the only thing I've ever done aside from a brief stint at an art gallery in New York when I first got out of school. I was fortunate enough to work for a number of designers in New York before starting my own business. And the first thing I did when I started my own business was I opened a home accessories store in New York in Soho. And through that, I got clients and built my design business. And then my husband and I relocated to Los Angeles about 14 years ago and have slowly built my business out here. And now we have my design business is based in Los Angeles, but I work in New York and Florida and really all over the country. My advice to people that want to start a career in interior design is go work for someone. Work for someone you respect and whose style you like, and then maybe work for someone who you're not so stylistically aligned. It's important to work that muscle because not every client is gonna agree with you. Hopefully most of them do, and that's why they've hired you, but work for a few people before starting your own business. There's a lot you can learn, whether it's just, the business side of things, sourcing, don't underestimate what you can learn working for someone else. And as far as building a collection of antiques, there are so many resources now online. Live Auctioneers is a great resource. Try to zero in on what styles you like. Notice, look at who made things. If there was, I'm really gravitating towards Italian 1940s furniture. Look at the designers on those. Even if it's something you can't afford, maybe you can find something in the style. And I really encourage buying vintage. I like to walk into a room and not know where everything's from. We live in a world where it's very easy to learn where people bought their, furniture and accessories and all. It feels, special and it's your own and nobody else is gonna have it. Now I'll take you into the kitchen. was one of the first places we touched when we bought the house. It really needed to be updated, and it was sort of broken up. There was a washer dryer kind of in the middle and a cabinet and a separate room for the breakfast table. So we opened it up and changed all the appliances. Again, it's pretty central to the house. You can see you open into the dining room on either side of the refrigerator. And we love to cook and, as I said, entertain. So this is another space we spend a lot of time. I wanted it pretty neutral because you see it from the entry, you see it from the dining room. I didn't want to make a statement with color. I wanted something that felt almost sort of utilitarian while still being pretty. We did just a simple gray marble countertop that's honed. These floors are a black and white marble from Exquisite Surfaces, a showroom I love out here. There's a big window that looks out to the swimming pool, which is nice. You can see the kids out there. And again, I did these glass front cabinets because I have all this pretty glassware in China, and I think it's nice to show it off. We did wooden cabinets on the other side to hide all the ugly stuff. The lights are actually really old Restoration Hardware. I liked them because they just were sort of simple, but they felt a little bit vintagey. The pottery in the window I actually bought about 6 months ago. It was a little birthday present to myself. I bought it from Nikki Kehoe out here. It's a potter that I just thought was really pretty with the handles, and would like to add a few more pieces to that collection over time. The counter stools, one of the things that are actually on my list to replace. I've had them, I think, from our apartment before we moved in here now 10 years ago, but they work and my kids beat them up and they kind of just disappear. So this is a little breakfast nook that was actually a separate room when we bought the house, and we opened it up so it was connected to the kitchen. I don't like tons of family pictures all over the place, but I thought it would be kind of fun for the kids to have one area where you see it's kind of our life, and it's fun. They come, their friends come over and they point out, that was me when I was a baby. And I remember going to friends' houses growing up and they had stuff like this, and I always sort of thought it was very charming. So we did it here. We built the banquette. It's in a kind of camel colored leather that is so durable, and it's not intended to be durable. It's not indoor outdoor, but it just gets beat up and it looks better as it's gotten beat up. The table I made, actually the base is vintage. I bought that on First Dibs when we were designing the house. And then I had just a stone top made that kind of is similar to the white stone in the floors. The chairs are a pair of vintage chairs that I bought a few years ago from a store here in LA because we needed two just simple chairs. They're a little bit squeaky, but they work and sort of disappear. And we do this is if the four of us are eating dinner. We'll usually sit here if it's not nice enough to sit outside. Now I'll take you into the powder room. Here we are in the powder room. It's very tiny. I think it was a coat closet back in the day, and someone, not us, turned it into a powder room. But we put this wallpaper in. I thought it was a little bit of a pop of color and pattern. This is a little mirror I bought at Nikki Kehoe when we were doing the powder room. This is this old stone sink from a place here in LA called Charles Jacobson. I bought these actually on a recent trip to London. These John Cocteau drawings that I thought were really charming. I gave them to my husband for Christmas. And then this is a watercolor of an asparagus that we thought was funny to have in the powder room. My husband bought it actually from a friend of ours who's a landscape designer who also does these watercolors. And we bought that a couple of years ago. I always think powder rooms are a place you can have a little fun and can be sort of separate and apart from the rest of the house. You don't want it to be stylistically totally disconnected, but I think you can, if your house is fairly muted, maybe it's a place you have a little bit of color, or it's a great place for wallpaper. So it's, especially when it's really tiny, I think it's nice to have a little fun. The thing I love most about our home is, I think it's very pretty, and I love the style of it. It really is. It's kind of what I always gravitate to, classic old houses. But we built our life here, and we have so many memories here. We have 2 kids. Our son, who's 9, wasn't born. I was pregnant with him when we moved in. Just the time we've spent here as a family with friends. We were here during the pandemic. It felt like a real oasis for us when the world was shut down. So the memories. Now I'll take you upstairs. These are portraits of my kids that were done by an English artist named Alexander Newley, and he did them from photographs, and I just think they're so special and really capture them, as they were both about 3 when they were done, and I just love them. These are a set of just pressed flowers that I bought in a shop in New York called Creel & Gow, and I always think things like botanicals are nice to fill for hallways. The light fixture is Urban Electric, which is one of my favorite lighting companies. We work with them a lot for clients, and I just thought it was charming and really just sort of pretty and soft. These are that my kids did, honestly, years ago now. They're 12 and 9, so these are probably when they were like 3, and it was kind of a hard wall to find something for, so I just put them up there. And so you can see there's a big blank wall there that one of these days I'll find something. I haven't quite found the right thing for it yet. And here we are in the playroom. This is a wallpaper from my line called Briar and Bird that is available in LA and New York and Texas, and it's the blue and white version of the artichoke pattern. I liked it because it was kind of large scale, and this room kind of doubles as a guest room, so it felt nice. It felt whimsical for a playroom, and really, I think, a nice soft landing pad for guests. And now I'll take you into the primary bedroom. Here we are in the primary bedroom. I love it because I feel like we're sort of up in the trees. We're on the 2nd floor, and there's 4 windows, so it gets really nice light. The walls are covered in a paper. They're these tiles the company's called Coppa Paper, and they're these sort of almost like parchment pieces of paper in a tile pattern, which I love. The headboard, or the bed I made, it's a Carolina Irving fabric with a trimmed in a kind of caramel colored linen. The nightstands I actually bought when I had a shop in New York, and they didn't sell, and now they're my nightstands. Again, one of the things that I talk about replacing but have yet to. The light is a design within reach, a more modern fixture than you see in the rest of the house, but there's no recessed lighting, and I needed something that gave off pretty good light in here so that we can see. The beds, this is a quilt. It's now it's pretty worn, but I've had it forever. It's a company called Les Indiennes, and it was a really pretty block print, but it's probably need to get a new one. These are vintage pillows that I found at Nikki Kehoe. Really simple restoration hardware bedding. I like just kind of plain white bedding, no matter what the room looks like. The lights are just a simple sort of task light from Visual Comfort. Nothing fancy, but they do the trick. The rug is an old Moroccan rug, just a wool, kind of ivory colored, and the bench is a vintage bench that I put a Claremont fabric on that I love, that now our dog has destroyed because that's where he sleeps every night. The window treatments are just a really simple ivory linen that I thought had a very nice weight to it, and the trim is actually the same linen color that you see on the trim of the bed. So it's really just sort of these creams and camels, and I wanted something that felt very sort of neutral, but not particularly feminine or masculine, and I tend to gravitate to kind of browns and creams, and so we love it. So this was one of our bigger projects. About 3 or 4 years ago, we opened up the entire outdoor space. It was very sort of choppy, and there was no real lawn for our kids to play on, so we enclosed it and have this patio where we built in a barbecue. And being that it's California, you spend a lot of time outside. We often entertain outside most of the year. So, and it opens up, our kitchen and the bar open up to the dining area here. And then we have a little small seating area. It's a kind of a funny lot in that our backyard is actually our front yard. So we put in these tall hedges so we weren't right on the sidewalk. And often when I'm sitting out here, I forget that I'm right in the middle of the city. And really, on the sidewalk, I could throw a tennis ball to someone walking down the sidewalk. But we built in this barbecue and put in a pizza oven, which is kind of fun for when we have people over. And we spend a lot of time out here. We love it. Home to me is our life that we've built here, our family, our friends. We travel a lot and we love to get out of LA, but I'm always so happy to come back here. I think every single trip we've taken, no matter how much fun we've had or how great it's been, we get home and we go, oh God, I'm so happy to be home.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.